can get started. All right. So thanks everyone for joining the Information Systems Security Officer training. I am going to go through the introduction just for those of you who are new, because we have the largest class that we've ever had here at QRIQ. So I am your instructor, Danielle Robinson. I am a virtual Chief Information Security Officer by day, founder, creator of QRIQ. I have 7 years in the cybersecurity industry, 12 years in governance, risk, compliance, and investigations overall. I do have CISM and CDPSC certifications via ISACA and 2 kids. Week 1, we covered introduction to infrastructure. So hopefully you guys went back and watched that video. For those of you who are new here, that is your foundation. That is where you start as an ISO. It's important for you to understand the infrastructure. Week 2, we are in week 2. I'm not going to go over all of the weeks, but we are in week 2, introduction to security engineering, and we have a special guest today. So I want to get right into it. So we're going to go over first, what is security engineering? So security engineering is a practice of designing, building, and maintaining secure and compliant systems, right? So security engineers focus on implementing security controls, hardening systems and cloud environments, detecting and responding to threats, and embedding security into architecture and development. So in short, security engineers build and configure the defense that protects an organization's technology, right? So when we think of our last class, we think of infrastructure. After, say, a server is onboarded or a laptop is onboarded, security engineering, one of the first things they want to do is install the security tools. So that's when security comes into play. And then the ISO's responsibility following the implementation of the security tool is everything that you see on the screen, right? So validate the control effectiveness. So your NIST standards, is the tool configured correctly? Is it mapped to NIST? Is it producing evidence? Is it actually mitigating the identified risk? Assess the residual risk. What risk still remains? So maybe you have a vulnerability that's found in that server during the build, right? Is that vulnerability risk has it been remediated? Are they able to remediate it before the go live? So on and so forth. Is the remaining risk acceptable to leadership? Does it require mitigation, transfer, or acceptance? Maybe at this time, they can't, for whatever, mitigate that risk. So the ISO determines initial risk, mitigated risk, and the residual risk. And then continuous monitoring. So after the go live of that infrastructure, that laptop, that mobile device, whatever it is, an ISO's responsibility is to continue monitoring for vulnerabilities. So that would be during your vulnerability scans. You want to review the POAMs, which are your plan of action and milestones. You want to monitor for any audit findings. So if an organization is NIST compliant, they should be having an audit at least annually, whether it be by a third-party penetration test, whether it be an internal NIST audit. There should be some type of evaluation that's going on in that environment on an ongoing basis. So you definitely want to make sure that patches are ongoing, remediation timelines are tracked. So towards the end of the class, we're going to go over, presentations and presenting the risk to the client or end user. And then we're going to go over documentation and reporting. So updating the SSPs, maintaining the risk registers, preparing the artifacts for audits, and then briefing the authorizing official if there is one within your organization. So how do you connect the dots? And this is where I would like to introduce Miss Nina Guntz. She is our guest. Nina is an active cybersecurity engineer. She does have her AWS Cloud Practitioner certification. I'm sure she has more by now. Her niche is vulnerability management, but outside of cybersecurity, she enjoys gardening and spiritual enlightenment. So I'm going to let Nina take over the floor. And if you guys know me, you know that I only bring the best of the best. So know that she is silly, just like me. So I want you guys to pick her brain. She is friendly. And we're going to have a good conversation. So Nina, I will stop sharing and let you take it away.
Okay, I don't have a fancy presentation or anything like that, so sorry, you're just gonna have to look at all this, all right? So like Danielle said, I am a cybersecurity engineer. I've been an engineer now for 4 years. I've been in the cybersecurity space for what, like 5 years now? Oh wow, it's been a long time. So Yes, I specialize in vulnerability management and compliance, but I also have experience with endpoint protection, detection, SIEM, SOAR. I also used to be an ISO, so I bring a lot of that experience to my engineering role as well as before in ISO, I was an information assurance analyst. So I was in charge of all the security documentation, system security plans, statement of works, operational readiness reviews, exceptions, POAMs. If there was a document that had to go with security, I was responsible for reading it, making sure it had the right dates, the right signatures. So all of that stuff played a big part in what I do today. So yeah, ask me anything. If I left anything out, feel free to ask about that too.
Nina, I need you, before we get into that, I need you to tell them how you got started and tell them about the story.
All
You
right, now,
guys
because
have
they
to hear.
might judge me. Like, are you sure we should tell them
This
that
is a
story? We don't want to scare them,
non-judgmental
right?
group. No,
Some of
this is
us
a
already know
non.
the story.
Some of,
So,
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
okay. So you need to like let everyone know, because people come from different backgrounds and they need to know that, there's growth, right? We grow, we overcome challenges, and we evolve.
And
do
William
we?
has his hand
Do
up.
we, or do we just hide it better? Like, no, I'm just joking. Yes, William. Yes, hey, hey. If you're talking, you're on mute. I can hear, but not that good, right? Like,
Sorry. Um, yeah, so I'm taking notes. So you went from IA to ISSO to cyber engineer. Is it
correct.
just the money, or was it more kind of a curiosity? How does everything fit together?
It has never been about the money. And if it was about the money, I wouldn't still be here, because underpaid and overworked is probably like an underphrasing of how much work you're going to potentially see and have the opportunity to work with. It wasn't about the money. I actually was a customer service representative, right? Headset on, 8 hours a day. Thank you for calling. My name is Nina. Can I have your account number? Right? That was me. If you needed something with your account, right, you would call me. Now, you know how humans, we don't always have good days. And I have good days and bad days. So no, it wasn't about the money. I was ambitious. So even as a customer service representative, I used to go to a technical school, so I came with that background too. Cable management, new systems, OS upgrades, you name it. If the supervisor was setting it up, I was being nosy, right? When they're like, what do you know about this? Well, let me show you, right? Well, let me pull you off the phone and see what you can do. So I'm unboxing brand new computers, right? They don't even go get the tech guy, because I've proved that I can put them together, configure them, set the 3 screens up, put the screws in, make it look all pretty, right? Get the zip ties and put the cables where they're supposed to be. So I always went above and beyond. I would come in early, I would leave late, I would walk to work, whatever it took, just to be seen. Because when you're in corporate America, you have to stand out. Like whatever you have to do, you got to stand out, right? Because they're trying to meet quotas, they're trying to meet KPIs and all kind of things, right? As an individual, you have to build your brand. So um that's how it was. I kept talking to people. When I would go in the break room, they're like, what do you do? I'm like, well, I answer the phone, but what I really want to do is work in cybersecurity. I'd really like to be in information technology. Do you know if the tech guy is about to get a promotion? Do you know who's going to take his spot? Right? And people be like, that's a crazy question to ask. Like, are you trying to take somebody's job? No, I just want you to know that if the position opens up, right, come get me. um I went back to school. So the day that I put in the application for the cybersecurity position for information assurance was my actual application date to my school. So I enrolled in school. So when they came, I put it on my resume like I was a student, but I had just enrolled. And that helped too, because then I was a college hire, which showed that I had a desire to learn and all of those other things that kind of beat out the competition. So that it wasn't about the money. No, no. It still isn't. It's not about the money. Good question. Am I supposed to tell the story now
Yeah,
or
yeah,
take other
yeah.
questions?
The story never gets old.
All right, so look, this is what happened. Like,
And let me just interrupt you for a second, because the reason why I wanted you to share that story is because I help people from all walks of life, right? I don't care if you are a plumber, if you are currently a collections specialist, wherever you are, this is a testimony to where you can be in the future, right? So I want people to hear your story because you are brilliant. This girl can literally pick up a product guide for any tool. Do you hear me? Any tool, and she can learn it and she can apply the skills needed to be successful on that tool as an engineer. So thank you for sharing that story. And it is a no judgment zone here. And I will allow the class now to continue because, like I said, we will be posting this because this is a true testimony to, your circumstances today doesn't define where you will be tomorrow. So thank you for sharing that.
no problem. It was my pleasure. I'm not ashamed of where I came from. So if I look ashamed, I'm a little embarrassed, right? Because I thought better of how I would behave when under so much pressure. But we're all human. And even my job at that moment understood, right? Like, she's a mom. She has a job, right? We have to write her up, but we don't have to let her go. This doesn't have to end her career, but hopefully she'll learn from it. And I did, right? I'm successful. They called me into some of the most challenging situations, and I've never used those kind of words ever again. Off mute.
Any questions? Don't be afraid now. You guys know I say articulate.
So I have another question.
Okay.
So all of your roles from IA that you listed on down are all security focused. But how do
Right.
you stay in your lane? Because now you're doing more hands-on where you came from more of a hands-off. So how do you, I guess, when you're in a meeting and you're working with other professionals, how do you like not overstep, even though you might have the same experience as they do?
Oh, separation of roles and responsibilities. That had to be the hardest thing ever. When you wear a lot of hats, it's hard to take them off when you go into a room where you're only supposed to be wearing one. I still blur the lines, right? Honest answer, I still blur the lines a little bit. Um, when I realize I'm getting too far into the weeds of like a different role, that's when I stop. So if, for example, someone wants me to patch a vulnerability, great. Now, if they start asking me about the vulnerability from 60 days ago and which asset was there at that time, right now, we're blurring the lines, right? And that's too far. And I remember because it turns into a lot of extra work. So it's really easy to see when you're doing too much outside of your scope because you'll have enough work just doing your regular job. But if you're like me, you're gonna try to squeeze in as much as you can because it's helpful, right? And it builds value.
So with that example that you just used, if somebody's looking for something that happened 60 days ago, who would be the person or what role would be responsible for that?
In my experience, that's typically the ISO.
Okay.
At inventory management, um, historical documentation, records retention, right? That's not
Hmm.
typically on the engineer. That's
Okay.
for the systems officer, right? I call them like the data police. It's their job to make sure everything is intact.
Right.
So if
Okay.
you don't know what was going on in your environment 60 days ago, then it does create a gap. And Danielle can correct me if I'm wrong, because I was only an ISO for like 8 months before they were
Right.
like, you can go do something else.
You are absolutely correct. It is your job as the information system security officer, since that's what we're training for, to track down those vulnerabilities and who's responsible for remediating them. So you may not be the person that's responsible for the actual remediation action, but you may be responsible for going over to the operations team and ensuring that whomever is on the operations team follows through. So let's say it's a cloud vulnerability, they may have to work with the cloud engineering team, or if it's, desk side engineering that needs to apply a patch to a laptop, you're going to go work with them. And that's the purpose of us having that infrastructure class last week, to understand the foundation and all of the teams that you'd work with as an ISO. So good question.
For sure.
So how'd you like that, the AWS Foundations learning?
I am an avid learner. I drink knowledge for breakfast. Okay.
I hear that. I hear that.
It was great. It was not a heavy lift.
It
They
wasn't.
had like a 2-day hands-on training. I took notes for 2 days and took the exam on the third.
Nice.
So it wasn't really heavy. And then they did like a gamified version to recertify. So that was fun because I just rode around on a skateboard implementing AWS solutions. So if you had already done it the hard way the first time, you could just do like the game certificate. It was pretty cool though.
Nice.
So I just played a game to recertify my
Okay.
certification. So it was nice.
Make sure I look into that. It's time to recertify.
Yeah, I got like a hat and it had a kangaroo on it and all kind of stuff. Like it was pretty cool. So
Are
yeah,
you-
it wasn't bad.
That's awesome. Are you gonna get any other AWS certifications? Are you planning on?
So with the cloud providers, I have found that it's actually better to get like an umbrella certification.
Mhm.
If you get too many that are like AWS related or Azure related, people tend to like label you as like an expert, right? Like you're an Azure
Right.
expert, you're an AWS. I'm a cybersecurity expert, right? Whether it's cloud, on-prem, hybrid, and I like to keep it kind of broad that way. So I got the foundational certifications in both, and if Google gets one, then I'll get the one in Google. But I'm actually more security based because my dream is to be a hacker. Ethical hacker, penetration tester, something along those lines, which I've learned recently is not a vertical move in my career, it's a lateral move. So again,
Right.
not about the money, just
Right.
the passion.
Okay.
So I'm finally up here where when a position opens for penetration tester, they'll be like, "Hey Nina, you still interested?" Like, of course. So
Nice.
that's what I'm doing it for. I want to be a penetration tester. The government should hire me to hack into their devices. Yeah, that's what I do in my free time. I break into stuff. These are good questions too. You guys are super engaged.
Allison, don't be shy now. Come on now. You have some really good questions. I don't care if you read them off the screen.
Oh, it's okay. I had somebody's questions and I pulled them off of the internet myself. Let me just get some names here. Melissa, actually,
That's what we
these are
do.
your questions. Hey, so you don't have to talk to me. I'll just talk to you, because that's what I do. So Melissa said she would like to better understand how security engineers translate control requirements such as NIST 853, Rev 4, they're actually moving into Rev 5, into real architectural decisions. How do you move from control language to technical implementation? This question is a really good one because you actually have some room for creativity, okay? Technical jargon is super complex and they rely on you to understand it. Okay. So for example, it says somewhere in there that, admin access needs to have some kind of multi-factor authentication, right? They don't tell you how to do it. It's up to you, right? So now you get to choose whether you use the Google Authenticator app. Do you use Okta? Do you use, right? So you get a lot of flexibility when it comes to translating some of those controls into actual implementations. The same thing where there's log retention requirements or there's password controls, right? You have some freedom there, right? If the control is that passwords need I don't know, a minimum of 12 characters, right? You can set it at 16. You can set it at 20, right? You can go and read a white paper for security best practice and set it at 16 because that's what all the other experts in the industry said. So you first want to make sure you understand the words, right? What is it asking you to prove? What is it asking you to make sure you have in place? Like exceptions, right? Making sure that you have documentation proving why you moved away from a baseline or a security recommendation. It's up to you what that document looks like, right? there's many security exception templates out there, processes out there, but there's freedom to kind of build it in a way that still gives the same deliverable. And Danielle, you can also correct me if I'm wrong, that most of the time they don't tell you what it needs to look like. They just tell you what you need to deliver, and then they send you off.
That is very correct. A lot of times when you get on the job, you will not have formal training on what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be creative in what you deliver. And that's why I'm here to show you guys some presentation skills so that you can be better on your job.
Okay. And any questions about it? Because she had a couple questions. I'm talking about she was really getting into it. Well, Melissa, if you want to ask your own questions, I'll
Yeah,
stop now.
sure. Yeah, no problem. So, like, because I'm coming from the GRC background, right?
Okay.
So, coming from GRC, moving like more into like an engineering focused role, like, what technical skills will you like say to prioritize first?
Technical skills, basic Linux and Windows skills, right? You need to know how to do command line interface, not just on a Linux machine, but also on a Windows machine. You need to know how to open an admin command prompt. You need to know where to go to update group policies. You need to know where to look for firewalls in a Linux machine, right? You need foundational skills in both operating systems. And the reason why I'm just saying Windows, or I'm just saying Linux, and I'm not saying Ubuntu or Red Hat or Fedora, right? Or I'm not saying Windows 2016 or database or server, is because at the minimum, you need to know how to work both. So if you can get on your computer, you're probably already a Windows expert. You
Right.
need to start building your Linux tool set. You need to know how to work in a machine that has no mouse. You need to know how to move around in directories. You need to know how to copy files, delete files. You need to know how to log into this machine from your Windows machine without one of those fancy little connectors, right? Without PuTTY, without Bitvise, right? You need to know how to get into this machine using username at SSH at whatever port, right? Like you need to know how to do the basics. So not to overwhelm anybody, I always say start there. Basic Linux skills. And Linux, right, has a Linux foundational certification. I have that too. Maybe it's in my office, like in the physical office, but I went and got a Linux foundation certification. You go and you get what is like a computing fundamental certificate. I got this thing like I'm looking at today, like 13 years ago. But you go and get the fundamentals, right? Sometimes they're free, might cost you like $20, but start there. Make sure that you can navigate both interfaces, because that's what a lot of engineering is. When I deploy a new security tool, I'm downloading a software package from the website. I'm putting it on whatever machine I deem fit based on their recommended OSs, and then I'm configuring it through command line interface. I'm setting up firewall rules. I'm going into the cloud and doing things. So you need to know how to do both.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess you answered my question because I was going to ask you like where could I go to like simulate like a day in a like an engineering work environment?
Wait,
So you said like
wait, before you do that,
Mhm.
we have the cybersecurity home lab build that starts on Thursday. Don't forget
Okay.
about that.
So we'll
So
talk. Okay.
yeah, we'll have that on Thursday. So she doesn't have to cover, you won't have to go outside of the program. We have
Oh,
it all here.
awesome.
You'll be able to build everything from scratch. I put the course outline in the community today, so you should see it.
Okay, Danielle.
Yeah.
I got you. I told you I got you.
I
You ain't got to go
see.
nowhere else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was it for me. Thank you so much.
No
Yeah.
problem. No problem. And did anybody else see because some of the questions, like I've learned that some people may not ask a question, but your question may be somebody else's question. Are you okay with me going into the rest of your questions just with the last few minutes I have?
Oh yeah, go ahead. No problem.
Okay, great. Or were you gonna finish them? Because I saw that was your second question. Did you want to finish them?
What else did I have? I don't remember what
I
else.
knew she was
Okay,
gonna
well, I
say-
had a whole list, so I won't put you on the spot.
Okay.
So, vendor dependencies. When a critical vulnerability comes up, right, sometimes it's called a 0-day or a holiday vulnerability. Attackers generally will go after vulnerabilities that don't have a patch or something available. get with the vendor immediately, right? Sometimes they are already aware and they need so many tickets before they can prioritize a fix or a patch or a release. So you should always know how to put in a support case, how to get in contact with the vendor. Some of them have phone numbers. And then documentation, right? Documenting when you reached out to the vendor, making sure that you have mitigations in place. Unfortunately, I don't know if you guys were working in the field when Log4j happened. Sometimes that means isolating systems, right? It means taking systems down offline if you can't isolate them quickly enough, but knowing what to do right when that happens. If you've got a critical vulnerability and there's no fix, there's nothing that you can do. The vendor is telling you it's going to be 8 hours before we can get a fix, and you've got critical data, right? The firewall's not fully set up. Isolate it, shut it down. Do whatever you can to protect that data until you have a fix. But don't just hope that everything will be fine until you get a fix, because while yes, we're small fish, right? And they could go after financial institutions and banks and hospitals. Small fish add up too. So they'll take, Suzanne from down the road and steal her data if they have to. So just remember that just because it's little or the corporation's small, make sure you're doing your due diligence. So document, and make sure you are getting with the vendor, you're prioritizing communication between the client, the company, right, whoever you're working for, because it does happen.
Okay.
That's from an engineering perspective. Now, Danielle probably does a whole lot more from her side, right? But when the teams come to me and they're like, what can you do? I can put in the ticket with the vendor right now. I can document when I put it in, when they reached out to me, when the fix was released, when I applied it, right? Sometimes they'll have like a workaround where if you just delete this file out, right, it's fixed. So engage the vendor as soon as you can. Even if they don't have a patch, like call them, email them, something. You've got to find a way. Um, and so what hands-on labs or real world exercises? Kyora IQ.
Right. We answered that one. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then do you focus on building security into systems from the beginning? Or if you try to meet every control as you're building, you are going to drive yourself crazy. Okay. As much as I wish that I could meet every control, right? It's not realistic. The day and age that we're living in now, though, most tools, assets, everything comes with a baseline. There's the shared responsibility model. Make sure that you're sharing responsibility if you can't hold all of it, right? Some people do want to hold everything. They want to hold their own database, their own storage accounts, whatever. If that's for you, great. But when you can share responsibility, do so. And that way you can have some of that security already built in so that you can focus on enhancing your security landscape and not trying to implement every little piece of security. That's my advice. There's a shared responsibility model for a reason. Take advantage. You don't have to do everything. And so initial scans are important, right? That's exactly what they're for. Find the vulnerabilities and then fix them, right? That process exists for a reason. You may have some issues. And then again, you may find them, and to the point where you can build from a golden image and you're building machines or tools with absolutely no vulnerabilities on them. So, I mean, you get to be creative in how you deploy security in your environments. Some people listen to me, and like I said, 0 vulnerabilities. Some people don't. It comes out with 500, but it's entirely, it's dynamic, it's flexible, there are people involved. So once you get into the real world, it fluctuates extremely.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Right. Any other questions before we let Nina go and get into our hands-on portion of the class? Nobody? If we can
Allison
do,
had some, but I can respond to hers and then put them in the comment on the
okay,
site.
Allison hasn't come off mute yet. Allison, do you want to interact? Are we being shy today? You don't have to come off camera if you don't want to.
I'm a tattletale, so yes, I copied and pasted everybody's questions just in case they didn't want to talk to
I
me.
do have one though.
Can you guys
Um,
hear me?
We can
okay,
hear you now.
Alison.
Hold on,
Okay.
Wisdom.
Yes, I'm being very shy. This is a big class. You know, I'm an introvert. Like,
I know, which is why I am bringing it out of you. You know how I do. You got to articulate. We going. It's okay. It's a safe environment.
but if she wants, she can respond to my question in the chat. So not
Okay.
picky. Or if you
Okay.
want to say them so other people can hear them, that's fine. It's totally up to you.
Well, I don't want to take up too much more time because I know you guys have lots of fun things to do. Um, so Danielle, I think that's your call, but I can definitely respond online.
Okay. We can respond in the chat and let Wisdom go with his question.
Okay.
Hi Nina, hi everyone. Thanks for
Hey.
sharing that amazing story. Um,
I
so
lost her
I
for a minute. I'm sorry.
Wait, I'm sorry. What, Allison?
No, I said I lost her for a minute, so I'm sorry I didn't hear her last part, but it's okay.
We said we were going to respond via online for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
great.
Okay.
So hi Nina. So
Hey.
yeah, once again, thanks for sharing that story. I looked you up on LinkedIn, and I realized you actually did computer science. So I'm just looking at transition from computer science to being an ISO. How did you make that transition? Did you have to take a course like this? Did you have to self-teach yourself? What tools did you have, or was it that you had an experience from work that allowed to make that transition from computer science to cybersecurity? I just want to understand because I'm mainly here for the hands-on portion because I mean I also went to WGU, right?
Okay.
However,
Okay.
I'm in that space where I'm trying to be able to translate whatever I've learned practically in the job field because now I'm in the market, I'm looking, but I don't want to go and not be sure or not deliver. I'm just a little bit nervous. I feel like I need more technical hands-on. So I just want to just catch your mind real quick on that. How did you make that transition? How smooth or fluid was it transitioning from there into your ISO role? And was there a specific start position you had to pick up, or you just went in?
So my computer science degree did not have any cybersecurity focus in it, which was actually very helpful. Because cybersecurity can be a bit broad, it actually gave me a good foundation to stand on as far as systems administration. And then the cybersecurity experience came from work. Um, I was honest when I went in that I did not have cybersecurity experience, but that I was willing to learn. I am, like I said, I'm a big learner, so I took notes during my interview. So even when they were asking me questions that I didn't quite understand, I just took notes, and then as we talked through it, it kind of made sense. So I'd repeat it back to them, and they'd be like, "Oh, okay, so you do understand." Kind of, right? Like not really, but in a way. Everything I learned at school, I use at work. And I didn't realize that it would be useful. So using GitLab, having a repo, being able to code, right, and automate some of my engineering tasks. There was a business management class, so learning how to talk to C-suite leaders, learning how to talk to clients. There was like a Java class, there was C++, like there were so many different things that I just didn't know, and I wasn't aware of how much I didn't know. And even when it came to security, like controls in families, a lot of that stuff, yes, you will have to go and learn on your own. So there was nothing in my computer science degree about security controls or frameworks or NIST or CIS or any of that stuff. Um, but it's out there. Like, and even at work, I don't have to have it memorized. I just have to have it bookmarked. If you know where to look, you don't need anything up here. You just need 100 bookmarks. You need a well-organized OneNote file. You need whatever works for you, right? I don't know what's going to work for you, but find your thing that works for you. I have a OneNote, I have a repo, and I have bookmarks, and I have folders. I have bookmarks in the folders, right? So find what works for you. But when someone comes to me and they're asking me questions about another framework that I've never seen before in my life, I Google it, I find the .gov, the .org, the .edu, right? The skills they give you in school. And then I don't know, I skim through it, and I don't know how to explain how I do what I do, but I read. That's what I do. I read. And like when my husband and my kids are out playing around, I'm reading the product guide. It's public information. All of this stuff, y'all, is public. So it's on you. Like, what do you want to do? I have a book on data mining. I've got a book on, what is it, strategic management. Like, I just read. Like, knowledge is power. Go out, go read it, right? You're not going to get everything. And that's how school is designed. It separates the people, right? If you got the degree, great. But do you have the extras? The ones that the kids who didn't sleep at night and, you know, who were studying in the coffee shop, do you have the extra? So you do have to go out and get that on your own. Yes. No matter what degree you get, you're going to have to go out and build your tool belt. My tool belt is a hacker. That helps me be secure in everything I do. But I'm at heart, I'm not an engineer. I'm a penetration tester. And that's where my security comes in, because I know how to get in. So that makes me paranoid. I don't want anybody getting into my stuff. And you use that however you need to use it. Like, you get to be creative. There are no rules, man. I don't know how to explain it. You get to create and do whatever you can think. If you can think of it, you can do it, man. It's if you can think it, you can do it.
Yeah, I believe
That's
the extra is what brought me here. So yeah.
yeah. You in the right spot. Danielle gonna get you right. I mean, she's gonna get you together.
I'm sorry. Okay. You see, I'm not the only person unfiltered. I met Nina before she even became an engineer. So I just love her to death. That's like my little sister. We share similar personalities. So, any other questions before we let her go? I want to be respectful of her time. Go ahead,
I
William.
have one real quick. So since day one, Danielle was always talking about value, and she mentioned nosy. Like, those two words stand out amongst everything else. You mentioned both too. So how do you
Gotta be nosy.
continue to? You just went over the nosy part, kind of in answering Wisdom's question, always learning. But as far as adding value, how do you continue just to do that?
Man, stay on LinkedIn, stay on Facebook, stay on TikTok, and watch what people are doing, and then do more. Like, I watch what they post, I watch the stuff they create, and I'm like, wow, if that's what they creating, I better get on my A game. If that's what they're doing, I better be able to do a little bit more. So when I see people automating vulnerability management and compliance, like, now I need to automate how to configure security tools. And people are like, well, that doesn't exist. It will. Right? Like, and then I get to be creative, and I create stuff all the time. I get awards and stuff at work for just coming up with stuff. Like, just come up with something, man. I promise you somebody's waiting on it. And it probably already exists over there. They just waiting on you to create it over here. So be creative. Don't ever quit, but take what other people are doing, not as like, oh man, it's inspiration. Man, if let me do that and then some. That's why you see Danielle doing everything. Because when you see people out there doing stuff, like, if that's the competition and that's what I'm trying to break into, do more. Follow other cybersecurity professionals. Go to conferences. Sign up for leadership. I paid for National Society of Leadership and Success, right? Join these organizations where other people are thinking like you, and rub shoulders with them. Because they'll tell you, like, oh, that's what you're doing? Man, over here, we doing this. And you like, where? How you did that? And they like, message me. I'm going to show you. Yeah, other people want to see you win too. I promise.